everyone, to the Kingdom REI podcast, the podcast. Man, I love this show, Cameron, because we get the opportunity to really serve, spotlight kingdom-minded entrepreneurs, especially those who are in real estate, and another fabulous guest. So first off, Cameron, how are you, brother?
I am doing very good, and I second everything you just said. I feel like we're the lucky ones. We get the front row seat. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah. So, as interesting enough, if we go way back to the history books of the Kingdom REI podcast, actually the show is called Kingdom Capitalist until we got hit with a trademark. That's a whole nother podcast show. I did an episode on that. You can go back and find that. Until we changed the name to Kingdom REI. If you go back to episode number seven. If you think about this, I remember the time and I started this, I was so naive and I was just hungry to meet other kingdom-minded entrepreneurs. I didn't even know if that existed because I came from a ministry world, not a business world. And this guest today was literally episode number 7. And at that point, I'm not going to lie. And I'm not going to lie. I would have taken any guest because I just didn't know many people. However, on that day, I got incredibly lucky to meet our guest today, Mr. Logan Freeman, Mr. Kansas City, he's called. And so grateful to have this brother on again today for, I don't know, episode 100 or 200 something. So welcome, man. How are you, Logan?
Doing fantastic. Feeling energized and ready to really have a great conversation around this topic, which is not talked about enough and is near and dear to my heart and my mission. So very excited to be here and to be back, man. Lucky number 7. I think that's fantastic, man. Maybe I'll come back.
I had to actually go back and look at him. Like, what number was he?
Yeah, so maybe I'll come back for episode 777, the way that you're growing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think we'll have another host by the time we get to that number. But guys, before we do, let me just pray for us. Pause and pray, Logan, and ask God to bless this show as he always does, and we'll jump in. Father in heaven, we are so grateful for your new mercies today, and that because of your son Jesus, we can come to you in faith and ask for blessing, ask for forgiveness. And so I pray for just blessing today from this show, that you would use Logan's testimony, his story, just even the way you're using him there in Kansas City as an encouragement, as a testimony for us all to look to and say, we can use business and real estate for kingdom advancement, that you called us into ministry with you. So we love you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So what has changed, man, since episode 7? Let's talk about what you're up to in Kansas City and what's happening there, man.
Well, first and foremost, I think that I have become a father of 2 children, and potentially I had one when we first chatted, but I have a 3-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. And in regards to mission and just life in general, growing into a father has been an incredible experience and journey, and one that has created new challenges, I will say, just in regards to patience and, seeing that they follow you in every way possible. They want to be like you. And Jesus talks a lot about children. You need to be more like children in the gospel, and seeing that firsthand, watching them grow up and learn and be sponges has just been a really blessing to myself and to my wife, Taylor. And so that's first and foremost, I would say. The second is,
that's pretty big, man. That's pretty big.
Yeah. And, if I have it my way, and if it's God's way, we'll hopefully continue to bring more Christ-like children into the world very soon.
The good Catholic way, man.
That's
have
right.
10 or 12, right? That's right.
I got a long ways to go. All my buddies, that are older than me, like 6, 7, 8, 9 kids. I'm like, how do you do that? Anyways, I mean, one of our good buddies here in Kansas City's got 4 himself. So, anyways, that's it's doable, and I'm excited for that. I think that the last 2 years have really shown me what the importance of having a rooted foundation in your faith really means. And I will tell you that, over the last 24 to 30 months, I know there's been a lot of unrest and a lot of people have been in tough situations and scenarios, but I've been at peace. I've been at peace personally, just in regards to letting go of trying to control all of the outcomes. And I think COVID-19, the pandemic, all of these different things outside of our control really have shown us that the folks that have their lives rooted in the foundation of faith, they were more at peace during that period of time. And so really use that time to focus on myself, my relationship with Jesus, and my health. I look probably a little different than I did 36 months ago as well. I've been really focused on making sure not just my physical health as well, but my mental health, because adding 2 children to our family, growing a business to the extent that we have right now is created a lot of what I'll say time that wasn't allocated right beforehand. And so you really have to understand that when you go through these changes, making time for yourself, focusing on your faith, your family, your fitness, and your future in that order is extremely, extremely important. And so I've had to do that. I've had to reprioritize my life, and growing from just a producer in the real estate space to a business owner and a leader has also been kind of the trajectory that I have been on, because we have 20 employees now. We're in 4 different states, and we have a real business that have people show up to this office every single day. And so growing into a leader that can really direct people in the right way and help them grow, just like I do as a father with my children, is kind of my main focus right now.
Logan, let me ask you, let me touch on something real quick. Let's talk about, because I've heard you talk about this in the past. I think this will be actually really helpful for folks to hear. In terms of just your routine, your morning routine. I mean, a business, 2 kids, 2 or 3, excuse me.
2 kids.
How many? 2 kids. Coming, 3's coming. I'm just prophesying over you, brother. 3 kids coming. And then tell our audience a little bit about kind of how you're, disciplined in terms of what you're, how you prioritize and plan your day and week would be really helpful.
Yeah, well, I think that it's all about buckets. And what I will tell you about this that I've learned the most over the last 2 years is there is no work-life balance. It's always a counterbalance. And it's really important to understand that in your personal life, you have to stay in balance a lot more than you do maybe in your professional life. And so I always say I can go long in my professional life, meaning if we have projects that are kicking off, then everything else really doesn't matter other than just getting those projects launched and making them successful. So I can go long in those. But, if you don't spend time with your wife or don't communicate with your husband or whatever it is for a long period of time, it's really hard to balance back out into where you want to go. And so I took that kind of mental model from Gary Keller's book, The One Thing, and really tried to look at my own life and say, okay, I'm not going to be in balance in work because the nature of our business is very cyclical. It's very project oriented, and it takes a lot at the beginning, and then dwindles down as you continue along those projects. But what was happening was I was doing that really well, but I was kind of taking the same mentality in regards to my family. And so not being able to turn that off whenever I become no longer a business owner and a father and a husband, when I went home, was kind of my challenge because of growing a business, that you're never really off. And so making sure I put boundaries in place. And so, making it hard for myself to find my phone or my iPad or something like that I utilize on a regular basis. So, got a decent sized house. I put my phone all the way up in my room, and I have to walk up the stairs across the whole hallway and go pick it up. So making it a conscious effort, right? The other thing is waking up early. All of 2021 and probably 2020 woke up between 3:30 and 4 o'clock every single day to get my morning routine. Well, what happened was, my physical health really took a hit from that. I was never really recovering, because I was not sleeping enough. So I really went deep into sleep and how much sleep do I need? How do I get in the right cycles? When do I need to go to bed? When, if I do stay up till 9:30 or 10 the night before, then I need to sleep until, 5 in the morning the next day. So just things like that, understanding my own physiology and my body was really important to manage energy, because that is the number one thing in this business is what kind of energy can you bring every single day. If you're low energy, you're sick all the time, it's going to be really hard to be a good high performance athlete or a business owner. And I look at business really like athletics. That's just how my mind kind of works. And so for me, my morning routine has changed a lot. And I've really started to focus on getting my workouts in the morning. There's no way I'm working out in the afternoon or in the evening. It's just not going to happen. I'm drained. I don't have time to do that then. So, I still wake up between 4 and 5 every single day and making sure that I'm getting in the gospel. I'm sitting there, I'm meditating. So I use Headspace app and a few other apps that really help me find peace. I do a lot of breathing techniques, believe it or not. I'm on a lot of these speaking engagements. I am on the phone quite a bit during the day. And so I need to figure out how to breathe better. So I'm tracking my heart rate variability. What's my stress level throughout the day? How do I bring that back down? And so, activating the parasympathetic nervous system instead of just being in the sympathetic nervous system all the time is really important. So what does that mean for my schedule? Well, I need to find more time for me in the midday to do a meditation. I meditated right before we got on this podcast because I was in financial models on Excel right here on this other screen right before we are jumping into something completely different and quantitative. So making sure that I release that time and figure out how to find that headspace to really be present is extremely important. I'm really
Guys, if you're hearing Logan real quick, and you're like, what the heck is this guy it's why he also played in the NFL, by the way. I mean, this is this is what it takes though. And I think if anyone's like, man, this guy is on a roll, and that's why I'm sorry to interrupt you, Logan. I think it's important to say, like, you're also going to hear in a minute how this guy literally, last time we talked, FTW, I don't even think existed, Logan, and now you have over 20 employees. I just want to remind you, listen, guys, listen, everyone, because this is what it takes, I personally think, to become a high performer in the business sector, is to really treat all these areas in your life. So really good. And I don't know if there's anything you want to finish up on there, but I think that's excellent.
Yeah, the only other thing is, I've had a lot of different systems in regards to tracking goals and measurables. And if you read Atomic Habits, which is one of my favorite books, those routines are now my habits. I don't even call them routines anymore. They're just a part of who I am. And so I was tracking them every single day, putting the check mark, and I was getting no benefit of that. So what I do now is we run our business and our personal lives off of a book called Traction, and using the EOS system. And, I have that all in Excel spreadsheets. And so I do a whole lot less of physical journaling and tracking using those journals that I've talked about in the past, just because that's me now. And, I'm doing those things on a regular basis. And so I have quarterly check-ins with myself. I have monthly check-ins with myself in accountability groups that hold me accountable to certain things. But, it took 5-6 years of journaling to make sure that I was going to keep those routines. And so I do think that if you're not doing that right now, starting with a journal that's pretty structured is a very good way to be able to track your habits and figure out how to make those internalized instead of just something that you do on a regular basis, because now it just comes to me naturally.
I was going to ask you, do you keep a journal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. You guys are so disciplined. I don't keep a journal. That's great.
What
were you going to ask?
I was just saying, I like how you said a while ago, Logan, the order, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said faith, family, fitness, and future.
That's right.
And you said in that particular order.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you said that, because the tail end of that future is realized by the 3 things in front of it. And there's like a future you, like there is a future you that is being molded by the things you do today. So what's, I'm asking the audience, what's in your hierarchy? What's your 1, 2, and 3? For Logan, it's faith, family, fitness. And that's determining his future. And so he's putting a lot of effort in there. So I have no doubt that your future is just going to be bright, brother. But I appreciate you saying in that order. I think that's important for people to understand, is you got to get the order right.
100%. I will just say that was from a mentor of mine early on in my transition from athletics to business. He said, a stool usually has 4 legs. So I want you to pick 4 things that are most important to you. And we're going to put them in a certain order. And you need to use this as a, decision filtering criteria for everything that you do. And if you take care of the first 3, number 4 is always going to take care of itself. So you hit it on the head right there, Cameron.
Amen.
So let's talk about FTW, man. Tell us what that is. And then, I mean, like I said, a lot's happened in 36 months, probably when we first had our conversation and met. Yeah. Talk about what you guys are up to there in the Kansas City market and your focus as a company?
Yeah, well, we're a private equity business that owns and operates commercial real estate. And I will tell the audience here that, we're one of very few firms, I think, that have specialties outside of just kind of one niche like multifamily. And the way that this happened was, being a broker myself, helping so many different, clients that don't work or live, sorry, they don't live here in Kansas City or the Midwest, find the right property for their goals was just something that came naturally to me. And the other two principals here as well have been, involved with assets way outside of multifamily. And so, back in 2019, we were really strong and had a thesis around neighborhood retail shopping centers. And guess what happened? COVID-19, shutdowns, lockdowns. Can't go to the retail shopping centers anymore unless you're, an essential business. And so just had to pivot the investment thesis into what we thought was a good one, which was residential and housing. And, thankfully at that time, when everybody else was, going left, we were looking right. There was a lot of people sitting on the sidelines, and we went and made a big splash into multifamily at that time. Turns out, that was the right move. And a lot of folks have kind of piggybacked on that. And I'm not saying I am the only group that has done that, but there was some groups that were active in that space because they saw the fundamentals and felt very strongly about them. But now that seems to have shifted a little bit, where that is kind of the bandwagon approach now. And a lot of people are funneling into that asset class. And so what do we do as a company? Well, we have to take all the different changing market dynamics and say, okay, where does our thesis now lie? And where do we see kind of the value as the opportunity here? And so that's now in different asset classes and in different kind of stages of projects. So even looking into doing development projects, very specific development projects, shopping centers, mobile home communities, doing things like that. And so, just trying to be cognizant of what's happening, what's available. And thankfully, I kind of have a unique approach and perspective on this because I'm on a lot of different sides. So I'm an owner operator myself. I own a brokerage in Missouri and Kansas, and we help represent out-of-state clients. And I'm very in tune with what's happening across the country with other sponsorship groups. And so I get to take all three of those perspectives and kind of create our own thesis around where we see the opportunity, which kind of allows us to stay maybe one or two steps ahead of maybe our competition. And that allows us to really go find undervalued assets, which is what we do as value investors.
Yeah, I think like you really prioritize kind of the Midwest as your territory, right? And so having a specialty or a focus in a certain, if it's not a niche, then at least an area. I think you guys have done a really good job of kind of saying this is who we are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that we're going to be Midwest investors for quite some time. One, we all live here, but two, there is, there was less competition. There still is, but the money has definitely flowed in from the gateway markets into more Midwest, but it always won't be like that, right? And so, I'm of the notion that I really need to understand the demographics and psychographics of the residents, the businesses, and where the competitive edge is. And if I'm not operating in that space, it's really hard for me to know, the 5 different developers that are doing projects along Main Street here and know to buy this 40,000 square foot office building, because everything along here, when the streetcar is going to stop right out front, rental rates are going to go, up 35-40% because it happened, a mile down the road already.
So Logan, I want to talk about just as a kingdom entrepreneur and building a company, just you talked about you've joined a group recently to even kind of help
Yeah.
you think and build a framework around this. I mean, this is the point of this show, is to really continue to spotlight and show that we can use business and real estate investing as, I mean, God's inviting us to use that actually as part of His kingdom plan. And so, let's start there. I mean, how do you see business as part of God's plan of building and growing and advancing His kingdom?
Yeah. Well, first off, I think that, we need to make the distinction that what you do is not necessarily who you are, it's how you do it. And, I think that's the first big realization that hit me as a business owner. And, when you think about spending your time, right? I mean, I've got 2 kids in daycare right now. My wife's at home working, 8, 9, 10 hours out of the day. I'm not with them, right? And so I'm with people that I'm doing business with. And as a kingdom-minded business owner, you think about the people that you spend a lot of time with and the impact that you have in the community that you're operating in. That's where the two things kind of really converged for me. Was I need to first act as much as like as or strive to be like Jesus that I possibly can. And so that is with how I deal with people, that is with forgiveness, that is with all of the different pieces of the puzzle. And I always go back to kind of the cardinal and theological virtues of us Catholics, which is hope, faith, hope, and love, and then prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. And so I'm thinking about how to lead that way. And everybody that comes into contact, whether that be one of the 2,000 residents that live in our apartment complexes or the businesses that are renting, space from us to run their businesses, how can you live that out on a regular basis? Then it becomes, okay, well, how are your employees looking at you, and what are they seeing you doing on a regular basis as well? And so, I think that first off, you have to try to live that out every single day. But secondly, it's always good to show by example. And so, recently joined a CEOs group that's here based in Kansas City, which is a faith-based group, which was really important to me to kind of learn how these business owners that are 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 times larger than what I'm doing are really doing this on a regular basis. And we recently had a meeting, and one of the things that was on the wallpaper of this brand new office building that this guy built, he's in the insurance industry, is God. I mean, it's right there on the wallpaper for everybody to come and see. And so you better believe that whenever you walk into that company, that people know what that company's values are. They have Bible studies on a regular basis. You don't have to come, but they're not mandatory, but it's there, right? They're picking people up when an employee hits a rough patch, or somebody, maybe one of their spouses dies or something like that. They're supporting those folks. And so I've already picked up a few things from these kind of seasoned business owners that have been able to implement this on a regular basis. But for me, we're not that large right now. So it's really just about, making sure that I wear this on my sleeve on a regular basis. I never shy away from it. Being able to talk about your faith and religion in the workplace is a protected situation. It is very protected in the Constitution of the United States. And so we should not feel like we cannot talk about our beliefs. And so that's been really important for me to spend time with these business owners that are doing these different things, that kind of helping spread the message in their own businesses, that we can start to implement myself and think about how to do in the best way possible.
I love that, man. I mean, I think that people are seen for how they take care of themselves, but remembered and celebrated for how they take care of others. You just can't not feel the impact of somebody taking care of other people. And so, like that guy you're talking about, just incredible. Hey, it's here. It's who we are. You don't have to come, but you're welcome and accept it. And even if you don't come to the Bible study, if you hit a hard time, we're going to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously that's impactful, as it was and is for you. And, it just makes you kind of hungry to implement that in your own life in some fraction, some portion or another. And so whenever you guys are setting up, you now have 20 employees, you are responsible for more than just yourself. People can see how you're taking care of yourself, but like, how do you want to be seen as taking care of other people?
Exactly, man. Yeah, 100%. And, I think the other thing that, as a business owner now, setting up, charitable contribution committees in your business to say, okay, which communities, which nonprofits can we support, right? So like we're going to put on a golf tournament later this year, and all of the proceeds are going to go to a charitable foundation that we really respect and think that they're doing kingdom work out there in the community on a regular basis, and hopefully be able to hand them over a really large check that's really going to have impact in the people that they house and then the services that they provide these folks. So that's another way to really use a business to be able to think about how to create legacy in that respect. I mean, the ultimate goal for FTW and transition process for us is to be able to have a portion of our real estate holdings really go to one of these charitable foundations on a regular basis, and be able to house people for free for them, that they will be able to come to our communities and know that they have our own I'll just say our own voucher program for certain people, and being able to do that, like the Delancey Foundation does in San Francisco for people who are getting out of prison and things like that is a way that I really feel like you can impact folks. And just trying to align ourselves with those different communities, because it takes a tribe, it takes a lot of people to have this kind of impact in the communities. But if you start early as you're continuing to grow, it's a lot harder to start giving and doing these things whenever you haven't done it and you grow to $100 million. But when you're half that or a third of that or a fourth of that, and you're already doing that, it's just a part of your business. And we want our employees to know that if they have a group that they want to support, that they feel very strongly about, to bring to us, and let's see, not just with our money, but with our time, and with our other connections in the city, how can we really support that mission? And that's exciting for me, and I'm glad that the principals here are on board with that, and we've implemented some of those things already.
Yeah, I love the parable of the talents. God didn't give them the talents and say, wait until you multiply until you're generous. This concept and idea of like, to whom much is entrusted, much will be given.
That's right.
And, I can feel the temptation. I know other people probably can too. It's like, I'll be more generous in proportion whenever I have more to be generous with. And I look at the lady who just took all her perfume that was so much money and just dumped it on Jesus. It's like, well, that's a big slap in the face to my philosophy of waiting until I have more.
It's like, here's everything I have. It's yours.
Right? Yeah, it's like, what you've given me, you want me to steward well, you want me to be wildly generous with. And if that's all you ever give me, great. But help me just be faithful and wildly generous with what I do have now.
Yeah.
Logan, last question for me is, I've noted, I've been to your office. I see you're building a team. There's this kind of wave of like work from home and everyone going remote and virtual. You've kind of done the opposite. And and I'm just curious, like, is that a culture thing? Do you see that as a ministry? Like, is your vision like to build a big team? Tell me why you've kind of invested in office space and have people in house. Kind of your thought there, and kind of why you've gone that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think first off is, we're here in the Midwest and maybe have a little bit different views on certain things. I mean, I've dealt with COVID twice now through my family, and it's not fun, and it's hard to do, and it's scary, and I understand all of those things. But, for us, I mean, collaboration is extremely important. I mean, we had our book club yesterday with our whole company. And, one of the coolest things was one of our newest hires, we said, hey, how did you feel when you got hired and you got started? And he mentioned that it felt like a big family. And so, I mean, it's hard to have a big family whenever everything is virtual and you're not seeing people on a regular basis. And so, we are flexible in regards to being able to work from home if you need to, and certain things like that. Family always comes first in we have a lot of people that have a lot of young children that work with us. And so we understand, and all three principals have young children. So we understand that family needs to come first. But, I think that it was an ask. I mean, we had about a week or a week and a half where we didn't have an office, and we felt the rumblings like, I do not want to not be at the office with you guys. I want to be there. A lot of things that happen are distilled out of my brain, Parker's brain, and Corey's brain, and Slack and Zoom and phone calls and texts is really hard to just kind of capture all of that thing. The other piece is the energy, man. I mean, we have gongs all over this office whenever we close a deal, when we raise capital, when we have something that happens that's a good call out. We have all of these different pieces of the puzzle that are really hard to implement, and we're not that large of a company. And so being able to do that and have that big family feel kind of reminds me of why I invested so much in my personal residence, because I believe in I'm of the notion that it's the domestic church. And for me to have a safe space for my children, for my wife, for me to really feel like we're growing in our faith and our family is extremely important. This is just an extension of that. If you're going to come work with FTW Investments, you're going to be working with the principals right alongside, and it's going to be firsthand type of situation, and it's just an extension of the church for me to be able to bring those people along with us. And so that's kind of our philosophy on that. We've also found it to be just more productive when we're here. I mean, we are in the people business, and so we're managing physical assets that have people that need to come and talk about what's going on. Not all of our employees are super tech savvy and want to just be on the phone or Slack all the time. And so, being able to come here and chat through certain things and certain circumstances has actually been more productive for us than trying to do the virtual workforce. So that's just the way. And this building is full. I mean, there's 40,000 square feet of other businesses doing the same thing here. And so I think that there's a niche of businesses that are interested in being collaborative and going to the office. And I think that it's important for people to really get the whole theme and culture right whenever you're a smaller business. I think it's really, really important because we're not just sitting behind computer screens doing code or answering phones all the time. It's, hey, let's get together, let's chat through this, let's whiteboard this thing out, let's game this situation out, and let's go execute. And so feeding off that energy and culture is really important for us.
Yeah, that's key. Well, I got one more question. Kansas City, Super Bowl predictions. I mean, they just traded Tyreek Hill, and I'm very disappointed in this trade. By the way, I took this personally. I'm just curious. Do you think they're going to be able to recover from losing such a great asset like Tyreek?
Yeah, Tyreek's a one in a decade kind of athlete, but at the end of the day, it's it's about what are you getting to give this up. One, we weren't able to pay him the money that he's probably deserving of, or he can warrant out there in the marketplace. And so just like owning a 2000s multifamily product in Dallas, Texas right now is really good to go sell. Tyreek knew that he was worth a lot to go do that and could probably get more somewhere else. Now, I will say that, yes, I think that he will take attention away from himself, obviously, but other people there might be more attention on. But I think that Andy Reid has taken a really good approach of developing young talent. I mean, who knew Tyreek Hill before he, became what he was at the Chiefs? I mean, I think he was at a junior college or something like that, and he's one of the best athletes in the NFL. And so getting those picks from the draft and letting them develop under Andy Reid is going to be incredible. And I also think that the talent that's coming out of the college level now is so much more ready for the NFL than it ever has been. And that's a really unique thing too, because, if you think about previous decades, you really needed those years to kind of develop. Well, with the food and the supplements and the training that college athletes get now, I mean, they're ready. And so being able to step in day one, we've seen this on all these different quarterbacks and different skill positions to be able to step up and play. And so, I think it's going to be sad not watching Tyreek in a Chiefs jersey for sure. But we still have, Travis Kelce, we still have Patrick Mahomes, and most importantly, we still have Andy Reid, who's at the helm, which I think is extremely important to develop these players.
It's a very, very good Kansas City answer. So I appreciate that. Cameron, anything else, man, you want to get out of Logan before we let him go today?
No, I just got to echo, I'm a big KC fan only because I'm a Red Raider. That's where my boy Pat played. I was there. My last 2 years at Tech was his first two. And so it was just cool to see his progression throughout his collegiate into NFL superstardom career. And so I'm with you guys all the way, brother.
Awesome, man. Well, hopefully we'll be able to pull it back out again. And either way, they're a lot of fun to go watch. And football is in a good space right now. Lots of good talent out there to watch and lots of good competition.
Amen.
Logan, you're just a great voice for this space, brother. A great leader. Where do you want to kind of point folks to make sure that they don't miss anything that Logan Freeman FTW is up to?
Well, I like to end. I'll do that in a second, but I want to end with one of my favorite Bible verses. This is from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. Remember, as you're building a business and as you're going through life, that no trial has come to you but what is human. God is faithful and will not let you be tried beyond your strength. But with the trial, he will also provide a way out so that you may be able to bear it. And I save that on my phone. So I look at that multiple times per day because it feels like there's a lot of trials, a lot of things going on in life, but it's really important to make sure that you have that word and that God-given word in your life on a regular basis. If you want to find more about what we're doing, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn, like you mentioned, Mr. Kansas City, Logan Freeman. I post daily over there, getting some really great engagement going on LinkedIn. I just love it. And our website is ftwinvestmentsllc.com. Ellis, Cameron, it's always a pleasure to be here. And I appreciate sharing the mic with you guys today.
Likewise.
Always, man. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, like always, we don't ask, we don't charge. Only thing we ask you to do is share. Share it, baby. Take a screenshot of this episode, like Logan just said. If he's getting good activity on LinkedIn, it behooves you to take a screenshot of this episode to tag Logan Freeman and myself and to say how much you enjoyed this show. I promise you that the feedback back to your page, you will benefit from that. So make sure you go do that. Leave us a 5-star review, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Cheers, everybody.